We have all been waiting for this, and as the season is fast approaching and the Toronto Maple Leafs have new coaches, specifically Craig Berube, it is all coming together on why they chose Craig Berube, and some of the things that have come out in this training camp so far are extremely encouraging for Leafs fans and could change the landscape of this upcoming season and into the playoffs. So I'm going to break all that down in this episode. We also have William Nylander making some shocking comments about former head coach Sheldon Keefe. So stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we do, if you're a part of the percent who aren't subscribed to the channel, about 71% of you guys aren't subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 13,000 subscribers. Your guys' support has been absolutely unbelievable. So it means the world to Darius and myself, and we appreciate it. But Darius, a lot of stuff to go over today. William Nylander made some funny comments about Sheldon Keefe, throwing some shade at him. But Craig Berube's kind of coaching style is finally starting to come in a tangible way because we can actually see what's happening in training camp. Obviously, the whole offseason, ever since they hired him, we've been talking about it and saying, doing some hypotheticals on what it could look like with the current team, and it's all finally starting to come together, and it seems like we've been waiting for this for years, and we finally have a different landscape and a different outlook for this team. So a lot of stuff to go over today, but you can see this here from Nick Barden, and all this stuff is coming from people in the training camp and on site. So Nick Barden, Craig Berube is setting the tone right there from day one. And that's Leafs head coach Craig Berube is immediately implementing the team's new identity on day one of training camp. And players went through countless skating drills before going up against each other in the drills where they needed to bring physicality. It wasn't an easy start to training camp by any means, and it usually never is. Today was in my top two, and it probably wasn't two. Ryan Reeves said of how difficult first day of camp was. Good day. Sends a message to the team right away what our identity is going to be. And I think guys enjoyed that battle, and we got to go through it, and we won the day too. So Darius, it's we're finally seeing just a complete shift in culture, a complete shift in actual strategic methods for Craig Berube heading into the season. But we're seeing a lot of stuff here, and it's only we're only a week into training camp and 2 weeks away from the regular season.
Yeah, regular season's coming quickly, and obviously the preseason's about to start. So no surprise to me that Craig Berube thinks that, he had to come in and make a good first impression and make sure that everybody knows that this is the way things are going to be now, and it's going to be hard. You're not just going to get a spot because of your name or what you've done in the past. You have to come into camp and you have to earn every single thing in camp. And I love that, right? Like too much the last couple of years we've seen guys given spots and people already penciled into the lineup like well ahead of camp, and and then it ends up being that way. So this is a welcome change for me. I love the quote from Ryan Reeves too. That was hilarious. Like that it's clearly the hardest training camp he's ever gone through, which a lot of guys have said. Bobby McMahon said the same thing. Like a lot of guys were gassed. John Tavares said the same thing. A lot of people are talking about how John Tavares looks driven, and a lot of the guys came to camp with a different mindset. And say what you want, like that seems very different to me. It seems like everyone kind of means business this year, and Craig Berube is facilitating that right from the very beginning. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch throughout the regular season. They have a lot of work to do yet because they are implementing, and we'll get to it in a second, a lot of new systems. So yes, the hard work started the first couple of days of camp and they're skating them into the ground. That's all great, but they have to start implementing new systems as well. And hopefully that goes well. So we'll see that over the course of the next week or so in preseason games. But yeah, from the rip, Craig Berube is sending a pretty loud message.
Yeah, and we have been waiting for a change in culture for years now, and obviously the playoffs, it's no secret to any of us, that the Leafs haven't won in the playoffs and haven't done what they needed to do. And hopefully this change in culture, and that's what Craig Berube is setting them up for. He's won before. He is setting this team up for success in the playoffs as well as the regular season. And yeah, it's kind of crazy. Ryan Reeves' hardest day of camp, and it's only day one. He said, I think, a lot of work and compete out there, a lot of battles, just learning that you're going to be uncomfortable a lot of times in games, and you've got to work and compete under those circumstances. Berube said on Thursday, I was very happy with the first day overall. Guys really worked. And it's just, and again, it's not throwing shade on Sheldon Keefe like William Nylander did, which we'll get into in a little bit, but it's such a different change. It's almost like, not that Sheldon Keefe, he seemed more buddy-buddy with the players, and at this point, Craig Berube is coming in and just shut everybody up and said, this is how things are going to work. And I think at this point, the Maple Leafs players want that because they haven't won. They haven't seen success. Obviously, some of these guys have seen individual success, but at the end of the day, they're all getting their money regardless. They want to win NHL games, and it doesn't just start. It starts at the top. It doesn't just end there. Of course, a new associate coach, Lane Lambert, got to work on the penalty kill today, and Craig Berube said we wanted to get there early. It is a new system with the penalty kill. It is important to get some dry runs in there so they are familiar. And of course, we're very familiar with their PK. It was very, very poor last season, ranked 23rd in all the teams in the league. And again, a lot of different things going on, whether it's their PK, whether it's their power play that started off pretty good, but really didn't do much in the playoffs at all. Disastrous, actually, against the Boston Bruins. So there's a lot of things that are moving here, and we forget that it's not just Craig Berube, it's Lane Lambert, it's a lot of the other guys, Mark Savard. There's a whole different personnel, whole different group of personnel here, along with all the players that's changed. It seems like a brand new team, which is something we haven't been able to say for the past really half decade.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've been able to say that are excited about the regular season. But something you brought up there that I thought was interesting too is personally, I always thought that like when we were back in the Mike Babcock era, he was the bad cop coach, right? And then you brought in Sheldon Keefe was a good cop, right? And he had to get the players back on his side and wanting to work for him. But I feel like when things shifted, especially around the Amazon documentary time, where he was asking players to get uncomfortable and do things that they didn't want to do, they did not, the message didn't get across because of, you know, the messenger, right? And I think that it was because of the way he came in, the vibes he came into, right? And now that he's gone, I think, I'm not saying Craig Berube is again now the bad cop coach. I think Berube is coming in and saying, I expect this out of you and I'm going to work with you, right? I want to work with you. This is not like something where it's just a one-way street, and I expect you to work very hard and be that type of coach or anything. I think he's willing to work with all of his players and he wants the team to succeed, right? And I think that the players might actually be buying into that at this point. Like a lot of the quotes that have come out over the first couple of days, it's very different things that we're hearing, you know, compared to last year. So it's very encouraging. And obviously too, like you're seeing changing up the penalty kill. It was terrible. I think a lot of people forget how much of a disaster, especially special teams were at the end of last season. Everything really was, but the special teams, an absolute disaster. So they have to get to work here, completely changing things up. And obviously we'll start to see things come together in the preseason games, but a lot of moving pieces right now. And it's a good thing if you're a Leafs fan, because there's a little bit of change heading into this season, right? I'm excited to watch the regular season again and what it may look like heading into the playoffs, and how, you know, Berube's talked about it. He wants everyone to play hard and for them to be more physical and harder on the puck, a hard team to play against, right? And that starts with the regular season too. They have to play differently in the regular season.
Yeah, and I think that they ultimately will. We're already seeing a shift in culture where Domi and Benoit got in a brief wrestling match after an intense drill. Obviously, things ended up after the intense drill, boiling over like everything will. But you love seeing that, and those are two guys that are very, very hard workers. And shout out to Benoit again. We've been on the train for a while. I think he's gonna have another great year, especially after that contract the Leafs signed him. So he has a bit more security. He's not really fighting for his job anymore at the NHL level. That is so very interesting on that front. And again, a loss in all this was the fact that, again, William Nylander, like we covered a few days ago, is going to be playing center at least in training camp and probably in the regular season, depending what happens. Sorry, Justin Burns said, have confidence that Nylander can be a good center in the playoffs. All the tools. So when the game has his attention, he'll be good. Have seen him do it as well in the AHL. Like, it's not a super unfamiliar thing for William Nylander. And he came out and had some very interesting comments. You can see here, Berube and Nylander catching up after practice. And what William Nylander had to say is very interesting. He said, I'm excited. Quote, I'm excited. I told Chief, which is Craig Berube, that the most important thing is I just can't play one game if you want to try out center. We agree on that. Why was the last experiment so short? Why was the experiment so short last year? Sorry, someone asked William Nylander. I don't know. You'll have to ask my old coach with a smile, Sheldon Keefe. And like we discussed, Darius, Keefe gave him like 1 or 2 games to try at center. Didn't work. They pulled the plug on that. William Nylander has been very vocal about wanting to play center, about wanting to actually give it a shot this year. And I genuinely think from all the comments that he's saying, all these conversations I'm sure they're having behind the scenes, in front of cameras at training camp, my prediction right now is that he starts opening night on probably the second or third line center. Second line, most likely.
I think he's going to be the second line center for the entire year. I think they're actually going to try and work with him here. Unlike last year, I think, you know, one of the first things Brad Treliving wanted to try when he came and became the GM of the Leafs is this idea of William Nylander at center, right? And Sheldon Keefe just didn't want to do it. He got literally a couple periods of it out of this player, right? And he just didn't want to do it. He put him back on the wing. And now it seems like everybody is on the same page, which is very crucial for an organization anyway. But it sounds like they're on the same page. I think he's going to start the year as second line center unless something catastrophic happens in, you know, preseason that it's like this player cannot play center. But I think he has all the tools in place to be able to do it. And I think, yeah, he's definitely going to start the year as the second line center. And I think this is what the Leafs team needs right now. We probably could have seen it sooner, but especially at this point in time, this is what they need. And I think it's exactly what's going to happen. And like you see here, you got to give them the opportunity. Sounds like they're on the same page. So I love that from coach and player.
And like we've been mentioning on our streams, throughout the videos, throughout the past couple of weeks, it really lengthens the lineup when you can put John Tavares, who looks great at the third line center. Maybe pair him with Max Pacioretty, who also looks really, really good. Looks like a new version of himself. I made a video on that a couple days ago if you want to go check that out. But a lot of stuff is happening here. And if he can play center at a very decent level, it not only makes the team better, but it makes that contract look a lot better as well that he signed last year mid-season, which ultimately will play big dividends going forward if the Leafs can make this work. And it's very exciting. And Darius, we're very, very close to the start of the regular season. Games are starting tomorrow. Preseason obviously is going to get underway, and it's very exciting. So we're going to have you up to date with all the latest Maple Leafs news. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys very soon.